The Last of Us returns for its second to last episode, but there is still time for Joel and Ellie to fight a few cannibals, one of which is Joel himself. Talk about an identity crisis. This is everything you missed in episode 8.
I sensed doubt in there.
I haven't lost faith in you, David. We're just scared.
So Pedro Pascal has been absolutely nailing his performance as the jaded and brutal survivor that is Joel. Episode 6 let him showcase his crying ability, and this week he even goes full beast mode on some cannibals. It's all very cool, which is good because he has some big shoes to fill. Joel was originally voiced by actor and video game mainstay Troy Baker.
What are we doing here? This is not us. How do I find this lab? Thanks for not blowing my head off.
When he first took on the role, Troy couldn't have known that Joel would come to be one of his most defining roles, which is impressive given he's in almost as many games as Nolan North. Now, thanks to this week's episode, he can add one more to his ever-increasing IMDb page. James is the right-hand man to the incredibly creepy cannibal cult leader, David. He's the one who accompanies David on his hunt, and he later has doubts about David's plans for Ellie. James even meets his demise at the end of a meat cleaver swung by Ellie. It's ironic the lengths she goes to keep an injured Joel alive when she so readily dispatches a perfectly good Joel. Baker and Pascal don't get to share a single scene this episode, which is a shame. However, that's for the best because if they touched, they would implode in a Paradox Time Cop style.
Kid slap!
The villain this week is the despicable David, played amazingly by Scott Shepherd. I'm calling him for TV Line's Performer of the Week right now. Take advantage of this hot tip and place your bets right away. David is, of course, also in the video game, and the adaptation keeps him largely the same. There is his transformation into a pastor and more religious figure among his group, but his intentions with Ellie remain the same from game to show. Also, the same as the terrifying climax where he stalks Ellie through a steakhouse that's burning down. In both game and show, Ellie escapes her captors with a clever ruse and a quick swing of a meat cleaver. She is stopped in her tracks by a vengeful David, who is so bent on doing terrible things to Ellie that he barely notices the encroaching blaze. Both times, Ellie also uses stealth and surprise to stab her attacker, only in the video game it's your job to do that, so good luck. Even the musical cues are the same, with Gustavo Santaolalla's eerie and tense score highlighting David's descent into fiery madness.
I know you're not infected. No one infected fights this hard to stay alive.
I know you're not infected. No one that's infected fights this hard to stay alive.
In fact, this sequence is so accurate, it's easier to list the things that are different, which is mostly that Joel runs into Ellie outside in the show, rather than inside the burning building in the game.
It's okay, baby girl.
Oh, baby girl.
By the way, David was originally played by Nolan North in the video game. They would have given him a cameo, but they didn't want his ego to get too big after that scene-stealing turn in 2022's Uncharted. I know there is only one episode left, and it's a little late for fan theories, but it's my video and you can't stop me. My fan theory is that this entire show is actually just Neil Druckmann providing players with an elaborate walkthrough for the first game. How else do you explain how both Joel and now Ellie take advantage of all the best hardcore strategies needed for higher difficulty settings? When Joel encounters the clickers, he uses takedowns and headshots to fight the echolocation-equipped zombies. He also remains in cover during the ambush with the hunters. He favors the long gun as all the best players do. What about the third guy that almost chokes him? I hear you ask from the comments. Sorry folks, that was a cutscene. This week also re-emphasizes the importance of stealth in a successful playthrough. Joel ambushes 3 of David's men and gets the upper hand even while injured. Ellie also manages to take down David thanks to her quiet footsteps. It's actually impressive how many gameplay elements from the game the show has managed to fit into the narrative. Pills, locked doors, even combat and deaths are all taken faithfully from the 2013 classic. The show is adapting more than just the cutscenes. The Last of Us is full of little moments of symbolism or metaphor. Some moments are subtle and nuanced, and some are shoved right in your face. One of the more blatant is Joel's broken watch. It has had a journey as long and hard as the man himself. We first saw it when Sarah had it repaired as a birthday gift for her father. This birthday happened to coincide with the last day society had as a whole, so celebrations all around. The watch was broken once again when Joel and Sarah took a tumble down a hill after absorbing some gunfire from a random soldier. Since then, Joel has worn it as a reminder of his daughter's untimely end, forever frozen on the moment of her death. However, this episode gives it a far more hopeful metaphor when Joel reunites with Ellie. When he gives her a comforting and fatherly hug, his broken watch is front and center. Do you get it? He's a dad again! Come on! Yes, Joel has reached the end of his arc, where once he coldly told Ellie she was no more than cargo, he is now willing to risk his life to get her back. Unfortunately, he reaches this point just as she is reaching the desensitized and hardened point of her arc. That's also known as being a teenager. It just usually happens with less cleavering. So while this episode was filled with action, suspense, and drama, it was also devoid of zombies. In fact, 3 of the past 8 episodes have been completely absent of the shambling portobellos, with another 2 featuring less than 3. Being an adaptation that, despite its amazing production value, is not made of infinite money, one sacrifice of both time and budget is the infected Hoard that attacks David and Ellie. Both the game and show feature the moment where the pair take shelter. However, David isn't so quick to reveal the truth to Ellie in the game. Instead, he spends a whole sequence endearing himself to Ellie while the pair dodge a massive horde of frozen fungi as they make their way deeper into the abandoned mill. Because nothing bad ever happened in an abandoned mill, right? With only 1 episode left, it's easy to say that The Last of Us has delivered not only one of the best video game adaptations of all time, but one of the year's best shows as well. It managed to use its fungus-filled setting to explore the human side of the apocalypse. The show returns next week with the season finale, and we can't wait to see if it sticks the landing.